Salutations, my fine friends, whoever and wherever you might be, whatever galaxy, whatever dimension, whatever place in time, space, we're back together again. Mostly angels here tonight. There's about, 10 or 15,000, just kind of checking in to make sure how we're doing. Because they want to know how we are doing about the Christ field star tetrahedron, the mystical marriage of divine power, positive polarity, and divine feminine love, negative polarity. And as these two polarities then, of course, rotate against each other, it then creates a doorway, a vortex within the very middle of the magical star. And from it, the doorway source arises forth. One of my client friends asked me the question, why is it so challenging on the planet if we were born, if we were not necessarily born, but if we are divine and sacred beings and we come to the planet, why does sometimes it feel like we're so lost? And I said to this chap, originally we were with Source. There's no doubt about that. Source is everything already right now. It's the ocean of one existence. There are many, many different fishes within the ocean. They all have ocean inside of them, but some of the fishes have been able to realize that they are ocean and some fishes don't. And probably 85% of the human population has no idea what the ocean is, let alone that they're swimming in it as source oneness. At the same time, because that was our origination from out of source, whatever we were doing and whatever we had individuated from source as, we were still under the auspices, the behest of that which was still source. It was the director, it was unfolding the creative universe to be a place that to be developed to finally come to the point in time where it could then differentiate parts of itself and then create what we call free will. But up until that time, then everything in creation was simply following the impetus of source, this great creative mind. And everything was pretty much in harmony. It was in, peace and joy. Of course, it was the opportunity then by source to then individuate and by literally separating a part of itself from itself, only as an illusion of separation. It's almost as though when you would take something and put a veil between you and another person, it's an illusion that's there. If you simply remove the veil, you once again see the person that is standing right there, has never gone away. It's simply been an illusion of separation. So imagine that you, as source, this great cosmic magnificent being, decide to create the illusion that you're going to separate your fingers from yourself and send the fingers off to learn and to grow and to find out who they are. Source still knows and is still vibrating through the fingers. It's an illusion that the hand is not having fingers on it. It's just that there is a feeling of separation that in this illusion, you wonder, well, what are the fingers doing and where are they going and what can they be? Well, that's kind of like humanity. We have been separated from source and we are now looking to be reunified with Source, the great body that created the illusion of separation through the fingers. But then, because we don't really understand or know that it's Source that we separated from, that's the great separation, we go looking everywhere under the sun for something to fulfill us. And so we look for possessions and we look for money and we look for power. We look for glamour and we look for sexuality, and then we try out addictions and on and on and on, always searching. And whenever we're searching and we do something to another finger, so to speak, another person, that causes them more separation, you take their power away, you deny them, you belittle them, you hurt them, you harm them, you war against them, you steal their property. You have created what we call karma, which is you're no longer vibrating to Source. You're now vibrating in a counterclockwise spiral of live spell backwards, which is EVIL. And EVIL is just an illusion of separation from Source. You never really separated. Nothing is ever really separated from Source. But in the illusion, by wanting to return back to Source, we then create karma by exploring all possibilities. And then when you hurt or harm someone, you come back and you receive hurt or harm. And then it causes internal pain and suffering. And you ask yourself, well, why? The reason is because you are seeking to learn in this free will, if you will, enterprise now, that whenever you do something to someone, because it really is just you, there's just Source, it's an illusion of something different from you. But when you hurt or harm or steal or belittle someone, because you have then done something to them and it now comes back to you, you begin to ask why. And you realize that I was looking outside of myself for love. I was looking outside of myself for validation. I thought that something out there would fulfill me. And so when we receive back our karma, which is the suffering that creates fear and sadness and grief and shame and blame, frustration, anger, even hatred, we then want to believe, well, something happened to me. But when we begin to step out on our spiritual path, we begin to understand that that feeling of emotion and darkness, it's the separation that we put upon someone else originally. And we are receiving it back as a gift. And the gift is if you are willing to feel the emotion and not judge it or criticize or dislike it at all, but from the higher perspective of the golden light being the soul that even has created your mother, your father, your culture, to give you that separation back that you fostered upon someone. And if you're now realigning in your meditation with that greater being you are, you can drop into the emotion. And without judgment or criticism, you can begin to see it's just a wave of energy. It's a counterclockwise spiral energy, again, EVIL. But if you follow yourself through and don't dislike it or judge it, but even taste it and feel it and experience it, you finally get beneath fear and you'll always find a part of yourself that you caused fear. And now fear is back through mother, father, culture, society, and it is imposing it upon you as that child. And if you then, as this golden light being, are able to stand by that child, you are there to reaffirm that the biological parents, culture, society is not its truth. That you, the soul, are the divine being that created it. You are the father, you are the mother. You are the soul that takes a piece of its sacred self, purity and grace, and drops it down into time space and wants to be covered over with your karma So that by returning as the soul and feeling the darkness and going through it and bringing love, the child in that feeling of love and once again acceptance and reunion with the divine, it lets go of its fear, of its worry, of its sadness, of its frustration, its anger, even its hatred. And so we prove to ourselves by our karma, the counterclockwise spirals of live spelled backwards, which are simply emotions, that when we no longer dislike them or judge them or criticize others, or even trying to manipulate them to be different, but because we've gone through all the darkness, and whenever we went through it, we always found something that wasn't loved. It was ourself that wasn't loved because we had been looking outside of self in other incarnation, looking for validation, looking for reunion with that which is the great creator being. And so we are on an illusion of separation that's about learning. And we want to know, as we're becoming creator beings, all that is of the darkness, which is counterclockwise spirals of EVIL, and knowing that when we go through it in profound golden light love, we will always find something that wasn't loved. And as we then love that which is inside, it reignites its vibrational feeling of oneness with Source. We're not trying to change them. We're not trying to make them different. We're acting as a catalyst, and the catalyst is the sunlight of the divine from us. It literally weaves through all darkness because we have woven ourselves through darkness. And we then are able to stimulate what is inside all creation, the ocean, Source, God, whatever you should like to call it. And as we then are stimulating as a catalyst that purity that exists within all creation, it feels that vibration. And then it begins to create an impulse of possibilities, an impulse of awakening, an impulse there must be something good and true within me because a divine ray of energy has touched me once again. And so that's the gift that we bring by learning that through our separation, we then are able to come back to be then creator beings who can then be trusted with all the powers of heaven and earth because we will use our power to love unconditionally, to change ourselves back into the living sunlight, which is what Source is. It is called the Sun. There's the Father, there's the Mother, there's the Son. But the Sun is really the golden, divine, and sacred energy that when Mother and Father are united, when positive and negative and spirit and form are united and creates powerful love, it opens a doorway. And from out of that doorway, Source can then flow through. And then it creates this magical star tetrahedron, which is power and love unified. And as sources are rising forth from within, it touches the facets of this super rapidly spinning star and it magnifies it into living light, living sunlight. This was demonstrated for us by the great being Jesus when he went upon the mountaintop. And for his disciples, he literally transfigured himself back into light. And they couldn't look upon it. They had to turn away. It was so brilliant and sunlit and nuclear. It didn't really harm them, but it was just too brilliant to gaze upon. But it was simply what an enlightened being is able to do. They simply are able to open the doorway back into Source. They have unified power and love, positive and negative, masculine and feminine. And as that triangulation of energy is moving, this doorway opens and they then feel the breath of Source arising forth. And then there is this knowing that it now becomes liquid, golden, living light. And as you are able to hold your attention so powerfully and divinely upon that loving feeling, it then literally turns you into sunlight. It was also demonstrated when Paul was on the road to Damascus, and there was a man that came down the road, and he literally turned himself back into sunlight. And Paul was blinded, blinded by the light. But Paul was a warrior for the Roman Empire. He was somewhat of a dastardly individual. And when he met this man, which is Jesus, on the road to Damascus, Jesus didn't try and change him. He didn't try and make him different. He said, I'm not going to take away your free will, but I am going to ignite myself into living sunlight. And that happened. Saul was exteriorly blinded, but interiorly, the light ignited this catalyst of the divine within him. And he went great forth to be an amazing disciple, amazing emissary of Jesus and the Word and the truth. Not as the church has since bastardized it. Again, nothing wrong with the way that they do that. Some people need that for their growth and for their edification. They need rules, they need religious ideas and percepts in order to hold themselves impeccable. So once again, we don't judge or criticize any of it. It's once again, I think it was someone in the Bible said that it's the meat that is appropriate for each individual. And the meat for us, it's the golden light of the divine being we already are that we're now bringing into the body. And that's what feeds us. That's what nurtures us. For some, the meat is still religiosity. For some, it is still fighting for truth. For some, it is still warring. They're simply learning that when they war against other, they will receive pain and suffering back in another incarnation. You can be well assured, we who have transformed ourselves so powerfully along the pathway, that we have probably done dastardly things in the past too. I've viewed my lifetimes. I was in the Great Crusades and I hewed, hacked, and slayed for Christ. But then after all that hewing and hacking and slaying, and once again you're on the other side, you see that everyone and everything that you hewed, hacked, and slayed was but someone you knew. They were simply playing a part for you, that if you create suffering, you will receive suffering. It's all just a very beautiful divine play. And once you learn to see through the illusion, because you're no longer carrying veils within your aura, looking through sadness or grief or shame or powerlessness and thinking, well, the world out there is power hungry, it's manipulative. It may be destructuring itself pretty rapidly, which is fine. Whenever something is destructured, it builds itself anew. That's just the law of evolution. The universe has been around for, I don't know, they say 13, 14 billion years at least. And here we are in this small time of humanity where we probably came out of the jungle 100,000 years ago. And now we're really beginning to develop this knowledge that we are the divine and beginning to hone and refine ourselves. Yes, it's a small percentage of people probably, but that's why we chose to be here and to experience, for so many of us who are on the pathway, a fair amount of pain and suffering and questioning and wondering, well, why is this happening to me? It's happening because you want it to happen, to learn how to, through free will, to be a creator being. And so I was also talking to this friend of mine that when we originally came to the planet, it was an endemic state. We had descended from on high. Again, we talked about how Makua said that 500,000 years ago, his people came on canoes of light to Earth. And so at one time, we lived in an endemic state on the planet, and we were being familiarized with the amazing beauty, the grace, the glory of this playground of Earth, water and sunsets and dolphins and food and just the whole majesty of this outrageously great created playground. But then it was time for us to begin to learn about the light and the dark, the good and the bad. And that was the gift that the fallen angel brought to us. Lucifer. Lucifer simply means light. And so Lucifer, yes, came bearing the light of darkness, which is mind, which is the ability to think, to cognize, to know, to make decisions. And so, yes, the dark angel Lucifer, who was really Lucifer, the being of light, one of the most revered of the divine, came and gave us free will. We ate of the apple of knowledge. And then we began to separate ourselves from source, and we began to develop mind and wondering and, well, where am I now that I can no longer feel and know source? And I'm no longer in Eden. I've been expelled from it symbolically. And that's when we began to manipulate and control and try to use our power and all those other darker things that we have done to find source. Just to find source once again. If you have the most beloved within your heart, and all of a sudden you are separated from that beloved, you would search the world. You would probably want to do anything to find your beloved. Well, that's what humanity did. And so they tried out everything. Is it money? Is it power? Is it warring? Is it possessions? Where is it? It was inside, mind you. That's the big cosmic joke. The ocean is already inside. You're already it. But in order to find it, you had to go through the darkness that was covered over you by your choices of separation to learn about good, bad, light, dark, and then to begin to realize I can now, by loving myself, I'm within the divine feminine of love and nurturing and holding life in sacredness, love. And then we learn about the divine masculine as not power and needing and wanting and mind trying to make. It's about training the mind to be a silent and beautifully focused instrument that can then shine light upon the seeds of the divine feminine creative heart. And it's just like the sun. When the sun shines upon flowers, they grow. And it is the divine feminine that has all the seeds of creative joy within her. It's the womb of creation where all possibilities and creative joy exist within the divine feminine. And when we're then shining our light simply upon those creative seeds, they sprout and they flower. And then the light shining through them grows them. And then we learn about the star tetrahedron, that we can then hold our mind clear and focused upon the divine feeling of creative love. But even more beautifully, a doorway now opens within us, and source arises forth, the breath of life, literally the breath of life. And as it comes forth, it is golden sunlit radiance that shines through those powerful creative joys we have brought forth, touching the facets of this magical star, and then it literally just ignites it into this display of magic. And then there is loaves and fish, there is healing, there's all of the magical displays of possibilities that we thought were magic, but they're just really part of what it is to be a divine being, coming home to themselves and knowing and feeling through their separation into the darkness and coming back into the light through their choices of love. That through powerful love, they can now be trusted with all the powers on earth to simply create, because they will create love and they will create joy and it will expand the possibilities of the universe. So it's a very beautiful thing, this separation from source that we chose. When first we were looking for free will to be created, it was kind of a new experience within the universe. And source made a choice. Would you rather continue to be an angel of light and simply have free will taken away from you and do the will of God I am, source I am? Or would some of you like to choose to go forth into the darkness, into separation, become creator gods? So the best of us have come forth. And now we're here at this great time of separation on the planet, but it's also the time of the great awakening. Such a great awakening is occurring so rapidly. And the darkness is raising its head magnificently. Power, manipulation, control, threats, on and on. It's just scared children. They're just scared. But if we are the living sunlight, our light will literally shine through their blindness and see that which is inside of them with the living light, and they will feel that divine ignition of light within, and they'll ask themselves, how can I wake up now? So that's why we're on the planet and why we chose this separation. Very beautiful choice to become a greater being. I can't say that it was necessarily pleasant for me growing up. It was a pain in the old katushka. Lots of suffering, lots of separation, lots of wondering, feeling fear, lonely, frustration, hatred, all the whole gamut. But I was fortunate that my soul then said, okay, now we're going to bring you forth the magic of it all, which is meditation. And you'll begin to quiet your thinking mind, which is lost in the separation, and you begin to once again hold communion with the divine and sacred being that created it all for you to learn about darkness. And lo and behold, through giving myself over to my practice, so many people around me who I know and love coming into that mutual practice with us and enlivening ourselves together, we have really grown quite magnificently. And we're truly at the cusp now of awakening the divine and sacred Christ light within. It's the real gift we bring to the planet. So I'm enthused about the separation because I was able to swim through it to find, oh, I'm the ocean. I'm the ocean. Nice, good, salty tasting ocean. And Lord knows I love the ocean. Go to Hawaii, hang out in the ocean, or Greece. It's the best. So one of the things, of course, that assists us in our work is the summoning of source from the open doorway within the heart. And it's our breath that helps us entrain that possibility. So that when we're breathing in, we realize I'm really sitting at this open doorway because there is this doorway. It's like a coin. On one side is the void, and on this side is manifestation, the living light. But you are both that which is the void, and you are both a manifestation. That's the Christ energy. You are both. So you don't fall into the void and disappear. That's where you came out of to learn how to be a greater being. And so we sit at the doorway and we expand the creative possibilities of the universe because we can be trusted with that which we are, source arising forth. So when we are breathing and we are breathing in oxygen, we're really breathing from the open doorway, source energy into this dimension. And as we said earlier, whenever the mind focuses upon the flower of creative joy, it then gives it light. And so we gently focus the mind upon I am the living sunlight. Source from out of the void, the breath, it simply touches the doorway and it becomes living sunlight, and it flows through the body and through all the cells and tissues. We've talked often before how every atom in the body is 99.99% space. You're really quite hollow. The divine mind you are is holding the body in the illusion of a molecular construct, to purpose yourself within form. But if you begin to let go and allow this expansion within your cells and tissues and know that the light can flow through me, because I'm not really solid, I can now flow out into the world, it allows a more peaceful and dynamic expansion of light from you. So that's the breath work. So I'll take you through the guided visualization of the breath work, and for about 5 minutes, we'll breathe sunlight through our bodies and into this amazing dimension. So we close the eyes and we feel the body relaxing. And we bring attention to the heart chakra at the sternum. We are truly a field of consciousness, holding the body in a molecular construct to purpose ourselves within form because it's interesting, exciting, and fun. And so I bring my consciousness to the doorway from out of which I first emanated. I was once with Source. I was separated from Source, but now I am the doorway. And as I breathe in, I'm summoning from behind me, within me, all around, within this flow of Source. And with gentle, purposeful exhale, I see, I feel, I notice liquid golden light. My body is open, expanded, and the light flows through every cell and tissue with effortless ease. And it heals and renews my body. And I sit at the doorway of the divine I am, and I breathe, summoning Source I am into manifestation. Like the physical sun, I can ignite myself into living light by simply focusing attention upon golden sunlight and peace arising forth from my heart. I am learning how to magnify exponentially that light through the Christ star I am mastering. But for now, I breathe and I become familiar with Source. Becoming the living light that feeds all creation. Everything exists within and from the light. Our perceptions give the light color, quality, feelings, and essence. If we focus on negativity, the light becomes an illusion of negative. I focus upon Source arising forth to be the living light, sunlight and grace. I am. This is my truth. Creator being, I am. And throughout the day, when I might feel lost or separated, if I simply come back to the open doorway, and be the doorway to Source I am, breathing light into this dimension, the illusion of separation falls away. And I once again rest in the I am. I have always been the ocean. I always will be the ocean, the golden ocean of divine glory. And then very easily now, still sitting at the doorway of the divine I am, I am a field of consciousness, honing and refining a mechanism of living light, the Christ star, that I may use it as a creator being to bring light and life into dimensional worlds. I am. And when it feels comfortable, to slowly open the eyes. So I'd like to share another little essence of the star meditation. That I was beginning the meditation now. I begin at the heart chakra, at the open doorway. Of course, this is the power and the love unified that opens the doorway. But as I rest at the open doorway, I then bring my attention down to the base of the spine. And I imagine and feel this purity of golden living sunlight going into the earth, mother. And as I then feel this divine unification, this nurturing presence of mother holding me feeling and my body unified with her, I then watch as this energy from the base of the spine, from even an entry point into earth, this golden rod of living light begins to move up the spine. And as I watch it move up the spine, it finally comes to the head chakra, which is then the positive polarity of the star tetrahedron. And there I see that this great open doorway to the divine I am. And I now know that I am this central point, this central column of pure golden living liquid light. And around it, then the star tetrahedron begins to turn. And so as I'm still sitting at the doorway, imagining and seeing these two polarities above and below, I then watch beneath me as the lower triangulation begins to move right to left. Mother, feeling creative form, moving gently. Golden radiance flowing. As it then flows, I then bring my attention up above, and I then imagine, feel the upper triangulation of power, then moving clockwise, left to right. And as these two triangulations are moving, I'm still sitting at the doorway, observing the movement that within me is this column of pure golden liquid light. And around it, this triangulation of living light is turning. And now the doorway opens and source are rising forth. So I'm going to take you through that iteration of the meditation and see how that feels for you, my friends. So let's close the eyes and feel the body relaxing. Once again, I am a field of pure consciousness, holding the body in a molecular construct to purpose myself within dimensional realities. And my consciousness rests at the doorway to the heart, to the void. I gently see and feel at the base of the spine this beautiful tube of pure golden living sunlight and peace that, like flowing golden liquid water, flows down into earth, and I embrace and feel the nurturing presence of Mother, holding my body in sacredness and love. And from this beautiful golden tube of light into the earth, there's now an arising forth of pure golden sunlight flowing up through the spine. Watch it flowing gently up the spine, moving through each chakra, warming the spine, straightening the back. It flows up to the very top of the head, and there, about 2 or 3 feet above, is the divine power I am. And now this tube of light from the point above, positive polarity, to the point beneath, the divine feminine polarity. I observe beneath how the triangulation begins to move beneath me from right to left. Mother is gently moving, holding me as she flows right to left around this amazing tube of light I am. And from up above, I observe this triangulation of divine power flowing gently and easily from left to right. Divine power and divine love are now moving within and through each other in this great movement of the triangulation of the star tetrahedron, which opens the sacred doorway within the heart, where I've always existed, where I originated from. And from out of it, the living light of Source arises. Touching the facets of this super rapidly spinning star that magnifies it into nuclear sunlit radiance all around me. And I rest at the doorway, calling Source into this dimension to be the living light I am. I will join with you, and we will make light brilliant, cascading all around the world. And very easily now, slowly coming back into the now. Thank you for coming to the dance of light tonight. And we will see you in 2 weeks with another light activation edition of the star. Thanks, kiddos. Blessings.